what we're trying to do is through teaching is skip that part of the lesson for youth and just let them benefit from the wisdom of ages.
Now, I've participated as a volunteer in some of these classes, and the first day is usually the book learning and that sort of thing, and the second day is usually the practical. You have the opportunity to try, a variety of firearms. Once you pass, you pass the test, and you get that most important item, the card.
Right.
What should you do with that card? Because it is important to have that card if you want to go, not that many people do, but if you want to go to another state to hunt. You need that number, don't you?
You need that number, and in many cases you need the actual certificate. Many western states will require all hunters, regardless of age, regardless of experience. They have to have passed hunter safety courses. Colorado is a great example. Many of Michigan hunters like to go hunt Colorado, primarily for big game. And every year there's a scramble at our district offices come late August or early September when hunters realize A, they need to have it, and B, they can't find their card.
So if you're 25 or older and you've taken that course many years ago, does the DNR have anywhere on record what your number would have been?
We have records going back about 15 years that are automated, that are very reliable. And there is always that room for a little bit of human error. If we didn't get the records in from the instructor, every once in a while we'll find where they did not get entered into our database. In which case that card is very important. And what I've told many hunters, tape it inside your gun safe, tape it somewhere where your ammunition is, tape it somewhere where you look at it regularly so you know where it is, so you know where to put your hands on it when you need it.
You really don't need it. You need it in Michigan, or you don't have to hold it or
you don't have to have the card with you.
But you must take a course before you can actually buy a license, a hunter safety license. What if you've lost a card?
We do offer duplicate cards. We get a lot of requests. It's time consuming to generate them, but we do offer that service right now. Just call. The best way is to either go on the website and contact us there, or call the nearest district office or Operations Service Center for the department.
Now, if you're in that group that is older than 15 years, going back in time, what do you do? If you can't find your card, you took it, that sort of thing.
We have other ways of independently verifying that. We can usually track that down. Usually people, it's amazing how many people remember the name of that instructor. And I mean going back 25 or 30 years, they still remember the name of the instructor who taught them hunter safety. And using that information, you can usually do a little detective work and put the information together.
You can help find that, okay. Right. Well, we talked about some of the new laws that passed in the last session. What are some items, legislation that the department is looking for or looking at into the future that might be helpful to either encouraging more hunters here in the state, or looking at other safety mechanisms that are important for individuals?
Well, we're looking at, I think we took a huge step with hunter recruitment and retention by lowering the ages and providing the apprentice experience. Now we need to look at the other end of the spectrum. I'm part of the baby boomer generation. I'm a young baby boomer, but I'm a baby boomer generation. And we want to keep our baby boomers hunting and fishing. They represent, those men and women from my age of 53 up to about 65 represent millions of years of hunting experience. We don't want to lose those people. We don't want to lose them from the license buying public from one standpoint, but far more important, we don't want to lose the support that they've given for years and years to the pastime of hunting and fishing. So we have to identify what barriers do we have, what obstacles do they encounter as they age, that we can deal with and look at, as long as we never sacrifice the concept of fair chase in hunting. If we ever give up the fair chase aspect, then it ceases to be hunting. So we need to identify some of those obstacles that some of our older hunters or hunters with disabilities face and see what we can do to facilitate their continued participation in the sport.
Okay. Now, if a viewer is watching this and says, well, they might be interested in becoming a volunteer, class operator or
volunteer hunter safety instructor. We have about 27. Well, we have about 2,700 or so right now. They do an outstanding job. They teach about 30,000 students a year. We are always looking for new instructors, always. The best thing to do is to contact your local Operations Service Center, the lieutenant of law enforcement at the Operations Service Centers, or contact us through the website or at our office in Lansing. We can send out an information packet, see if if it suits that individual. If so, there are several steps that they need to go through. They review the policies that regulate it. This is just like a teaching job. We have to be very cautious on who we select to deal with youth.
Do you do any sort of background
We do a
checks?
thorough background check.
Yeah.
Person can have no felony convictions, no misdemeanor convictions within the last 3 years, no convictions for conservation law that caused the revocation of a license. And we do test them, and then we require them to basically work with an instructor for one class, at least one class, and then teach a class with another senior instructor mentoring before we actually turn them loose to teach their own classes.
So what would you say it's in the instructor, what do they get out of it? You know,
Well,
it's all volunteer time, isn't it?
Those wonderful people that volunteer their time tend to get their gratification comes from contributing to the future of the sport. Every year we honor the Hunter Safety Instructor of the Year at the Natural Resources Commission meeting. Last month we honored an instructor from Sault Ste. Marie, Mark Eby, who just has done one of those outstanding volunteer jobs forever and ever and ever. And I think he put it best when he talked about the payback for him is that he knows that the sport, the pastime that he put so much energy into will be around for the next generation through his efforts. And they're volunteers. They can charge up to $10 per student, but that can only be credited towards whatever it costs them to run that class. They can't profit from it. So it's true volunteerism in its purest and best form.
And it's mostly done at sportsmen's clubs.
Yep.
Like the Cedar Rod and Gun Club has one. You mentioned Benzie.
Benzie County has a rich pastime in classes there.
Two counties that are in my district, my Senate district. You mentioned that the best place to apply probably is the website, because you also mentioned there were some other places that you could apply to be a volunteer, but I didn't recognize those.
Well, what we call our Operation Service Centers are our full service offices where we sell licenses. We have a lieutenant from law enforcement. We usually have biologists from both wildlife and fisheries. Quite often we'll have parks and rec represented there, and also forest management. Those are the offices that, I'm almost certain to miss one, Baraga and Newberry, then at Gaylord, Cadillac, Roscommon, and Rose Lake, Plainwell, Southfield, and now we also have a lieutenant at Muskegon over on the west side of the state.
And those are all on your website also.
That's correct.
Now, I've been to the Roscommon class where they must have an annual volunteer instructors class in Roscommon. Is that
at the Ram Center?
Yes.
Yes. Every year, our hunter safety section puts on a hunter safety recertification workshop for our instructors.
So you have to be recertified every so often?
No,
or?
I think the recertification is every 3 years, but this is an optional thing. We encourage our instructors. Volunteerism feeds on other volunteerism. We've all seen it. The enthusiasm generated at these workshops. Even a crusty old veteran game warden who attends one of these gets fired up all over again about hunter safety, working with youth, keeping them involved, getting them involved. And that's always a really, really worthwhile venture for our department up at the Ram Center.
Have you ever tried to do hunter safety in the classroom, in elementary schools or anything like that?
Many, and I'm dating myself a little bit here.
See, that's why I remember taking it in an elementary class.
Many schools, especially in rural Michigan, have rolled it right into part of their classroom. I taught many of my classes in the school classroom. Many schools also, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, also have camps, usually in the late spring. I think teachers sometimes are wondering what to do with students when everybody's getting itchy, getting ready for the end of the school year, and they have outdoor camps where the kids go away for 4 or 5 days, and most of those kids will come back certified in hunter safety, also off-road vehicle, snowmobile, and marine safety. And it's a great experience, and again, it gives kids a chance to try on these different pastimes that they might not have had exposure to at home.
Okay. Well, are there some other items that maybe the viewers should know about hunter safety that your division does or works on?
Well, it's important that the viewers understand hunting continues in this country to be one of the all-time safest sports of accidents per number of thousand participants. I think it's even statistically safer than ping pong.
Ping pong's dangerous?
Well, I guess it causes more injuries. And there was a lot of concern, for example, when the legislature took up the apprentice issue and the lowering the age issue. And the kids didn't show up in the statistics last year.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that then. In those two pieces of legislation, the incidents were very minimal, if there were any incidents.